The future of the NBA and LeBron James isn't set in stone. We all know, whether we want to admit it or not, that LeBron James is in his final years in the NBA. While he is still playing at a high level, he's also had a lot of injuries in the last few seasons with the Lakers. And while he has gotten a ring with them, it was during the bubble playoff, which many are considering an asterisk more and more. Many also know that he wants to be with his son on whatever team Bronny gets drafted to in a few years' time. But if it is up to Jeanie Buss, he's going to stay a Laker, period. What Jeanie had to say. Los Angeles Lakers president Jeanie Buss said the organization has placed an emphasis on convincing LeBron James to retire with the franchise. Buss discussed the direction of the Lakers with Sam Amick of The Athletic on Tuesday in wake of James's 2-year, $97.1 million contract extension and the hiring of new head coach Darvin Ham. "We have a new coach, and I'm excited to see what he brings, and I want to give him all the time and resources that he needs to build a successful program. And I'll stay cautiously optimistic, but it is a big vote of confidence when LeBron James signs a 2-year extension, when he had many months to do so. He had until June 30th, 2023 to sign this deal. And it was a priority to us. It's a priority to the Laker brand that he retire a Laker. We'll probably enjoy watching him as he approaches becoming the all-time leading scorer in history." LA has trended in the wrong direction since winning the 2019-20 NBA title. They were eliminated in the first round of the 2021 playoffs and failed to qualify for the postseason last year, finishing with a massively underwhelming 33-49 record. Buss told Amick, "We're all judged by wins and losses," and discussed the lack of success. But last season was a huge disappointment. I think if you look back, exactly a year ago, there was a lot of media who predicted us to be at the top. We certainly didn't live up to that expectation, and it was hugely disappointing because you can't possibly contend for a championship if you're not even in the playoffs. So, we made some changes, and I think changes needed to be made. The Lakers have made some modest changes to their roster, led by depth additions like Patrick Beverley and Lonnie Walker IV, but it hasn't been the type of overhaul that was expected based on missing the playoffs. Most of the gridlock is related to the inability to find a taker for Russell Westbrook, who carries a $47.1 million salary cap hit in the final season of his 5-year, $206.8 million contract. As long as the 9-time All-Star, who struggled mightily for most of his first season in LA, stays on the roster, there isn't enough financial flexibility to add another high-profile player. Looking forward to next season. In addition, Kevin Durant's decision to remain with the Brooklyn Nets following an earlier trade request likely takes Kyrie Irving, a popular Lakers trade target, off the table. As things stand, it's going to take a fair amount of internal improvement, a bounce-back year from Westbrook, and healthy seasons from James and Anthony Davis for Los Angeles to make its way back towards championship contention. Despite the high number of question marks, Buss maintained an optimistic tone about the immediate future, telling Amick, "So there's, I think, a lot of things to look forward to in this upcoming season. But I'm not going to be on the record and say we're going to finish first or second or third or fourth. I'm just optimistic and believe this is always a work in progress. And you've got to make changes as needed. Keeping James for at least a few more seasons is definitely a step in the right direction and removes uncertainty about whether there would be a mass exodus from the roster next summer. That said, getting him to retire with the Lakers would likely require drafting at least one of his sons, Bronny or Bryce. Playing with his sons is something the future Hall of Famer continues to discuss for the latter stages of his career. Father and son. The talk of the town currently is the future of LeBron James and his son Bronny. With the Lakers having a disappointing season to say the least, LeBron's future with the franchise is looking bleak. It is no surprise James wants to play with his son. He's talked about this dream of his many times. One of the biggest strengths of LeBron is his longevity, and he wants to take it to the next level. He wants to play with his son at the same time. LeBron James is 37, and he is still bossing the league as if he is still in his 20s. Although LeBron has not made any official announcement regarding his future, one thing is for sure. Wherever Bronny plays in the future, LeBron is going to follow suit. Many teams would be looking to get Bronny. Getting LeBron and Bronny in the same draft? Who would say no to that? Till now, the teams which are most likely to draft Bronny, according to reports, are the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Oklahoma City Thunder. Both teams have young talent that could use a shot in the arm to push them to the next level, which Bronny just might do. LeBron has had one of the best careers in the NBA, and he wishes it to end in style. During the All-Star weekend, King James revealed his plans for the future. Talking to The Athletic, James mentioned, "My last year will be played with my son." Bronny currently plays for the Sierra Canyon School in California, and the earliest he can play in the NBA is the 2024-25 season. So obviously, it's far from a certain thing whether they could play together, and it goes beyond desire. It's all about location, via the NBA draft. Per the NBA's collective bargaining agreement, a player must be at least 19 years of age during the calendar year in which the draft is held, and at least 1 year should have elapsed since the player's graduation from high school. This one-and-done rule is obviously one of the more controversial aspects of sports, because many young NBA prospects will enter the draft instead of finishing college in the hopes that they'll both earn themselves a long-term spot in the league and get themselves a lot of money in the process. Doesn't always work out that way, and we all know plenty of busts, just as we know plenty of success stories. It's a gamble, even with your father being LeBron James. In truth, his draft status is going to depend on how he plays in college. Which may sound obvious, but it's anything but. College isn't always the ultimate proof of a player's skill. Plenty of busts did great in college, but they couldn't hack it in the league. Likewise, others who were big risks or reaches turned out to be some of the best players ever, like a Steph Curry, who just won the NBA title if you recall. Either way you look at it though, if LeBron wants to play with his son, he kind of has to hope that either his son gets put on a team that will have the ability to sign him, which isn't a guarantee, or is willing to make a trade with the Lakers potentially so that they can draft him. Not a guarantee either. Why the Lakers would want him to retire with them? The reason the Lakers would want LeBron to retire with him is simple: star power. The Lakers have always been defined by their talent and their ability to be contenders. Even when they were in Minneapolis, they had that with George Mikan. Then they had Elgin Baylor, Jerry West, Wilt Chamberlain, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Magic Johnson, Kobe and Shaq, and now LeBron. They need that star power to remain relevant in the league. LeBron leaving them would put them in a hole they might not be able to dig themselves out of for a while. So, given the Lakers' magic that they've been able to pull off in the past, it wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility to make things go their way no matter what. So, what do you think? What do you think of this look at LeBron James and what Jeanie Buss is saying about him and how she's going to try and keep him a Laker no matter what? Do you think her tactics will work? Or do you think that LeBron will fulfill his wish and play with his son Bronny? Let us know in the comments below, and we'll see you next time on the channel.